Alright, hello there. I'm Juno Malarvost, and this is where I talk about the logos, pathos, and ethos on characters, myths, songs, and stories, and other things of that nature while I sketch for you. And welcome to One Man's Opinion. Let me draw from my trusty bottle here. It's got my list of stuff, a list of topics. And see. Classic monsters. Alright. That's not necessarily what I'm going to be drawing, but that's what I'm going to be talking about. Alright. Which I might draw some of that too. Alright. So classic monsters, I probably should have broke that down into into specific ones. Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman. Wolfman's always been my favorite. But alright. So let's start with the Wolfman. I've always loved the Wolfman because, well, werewolves are terrifying. I even had nightmares about them whenever I was younger. Yeah, not as young as I'd like to admit. Older than I'd like to admit, to be quite honest. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. One thing that was interesting is because, I think the first werewolf movie I ever saw was what's that one? It's the third installment, Underworld, The Rise of the Lycans. That one's fun. Even though it is arguably, it is the chick flick of the Underworld series, which I can't believe the words coming out of my mouth, but it is true. If you've seen it, then you know. But basically, it's about, well, I don't know if this counts spoilers or not, but the Lycans are different. The Lycans are different because every single werewolf story is just a little bit different. They say that like in Silver Bullet. Ooh, that still might be my favorite werewolf movie. But anyways, we're getting off topic. Well, that's on topic. But anyways, the first werewolf movie I ever seen was yes, it was The Rise of the Lycans, and I don't even remember how I finally got to that point, but my family's always been big into monster movies, especially my dad and my sister. Always been crazy about them. Me, not so much. However, it was funny because I grew up listening to them while I'd hide behind the couch or I'd be playing with my toys or something. I just would never watch it, but I would listen. How did you learn our movies? I listened. Anyways, and as I listened, I ended up learning like the whole entire movie, line for line. And so they'd be like, "How in the hell of it did you learn that?" I was like, "You guys watch it like every freaking day." Anyways, so I would learn these movies, and eventually it got to the point where I was like, you know what, fine, I'll try one. Right here, I think my sister might have been focused on it because she was a teenager. She was preteen, so she was into kind of chick flicky movies at the time. It was a very short phase. My sister's kind of, butch isn't exactly the word, but something to that effect. Anyways, something to that effect. We were listening to it, and then eventually I was like, yeah, I'll watch it. I'll watch this one. And I was like, oh, this isn't so bad. I can watch more. Interestingly enough, my sister actually kind of scarred me because she was like, oh, now he can watch scary movies. Well, I'm going to show him the Wolfman. That's the one with Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins. excellent. One of my favorite movies in general, especially werewolf movies. But um, not at the time. I got like halfway through, and we had to stop it. And I think I had nightmares for at least 3 days afterwards. Anyways, we're off track again. Every werewolf story is different, and so I'll go on to my favorite one. My favorite werewolf story. Oh, there's so many good ones, but I'll probably just go with what's that one? Silver Bullet. The thing I've always liked about that one, I always found interesting, was not just because, well, spoilers. Also, just always assume there's going to be a spoiler warning, because I talk about half of what I talk in every time I talk to people, I usually talk in movie quotes, much to a lot of people's annoyance. However, my dad is the same way, and so he and I will just basically speak in riddles almost, and in movie quotes and song quotes and all kinds of stuff. And nobody ever knows what in the holy hell we're talking about. But that's fun. We like it that way. Anyways, back to the story. The Reverend. The Reverend is, you end up finding out he's the werewolf in this little bitty town, and I don't even remember where it is. Somewhere